Hi, Misha here, and let's talk about another ship, another craft from the original Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope. The T-16 Skyhopper. And because this was on Tatooine, I brought out a couple of other Tatooines. These are all from the Titanium series. This is a Sand Trooper on a dewback. I don't know why, but this one amuses me. And this is one of the late issues in the series. This is the Sand Speeder. And I brought it out. This is a T-47, by the way, because it's from the same manufacturer, Incom. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because they also made the X-Wing amongst other things. But their little T-16 here is a bit of a different craft. This is classified as a high-performance air speeder. This is not a spacecraft as such. It is a little over 5 meters long, tip to tip. I don't think that counts this cannon because it's modular. And it's nearly 10.5 meters tall because of this big top wing or fin or sail. And it operates using a single ion engine plus repulsor lift technology. It does have a pressurized cockpit though, because it is able to get up to about 300 kilometers in altitude. And it has a very high top speed for what it is, at about 1200 kph. At least, you know, high for Star Wars universe. It has a crew of 2. Well, it has room for 2. There's the pilot, driver, and then 1 passenger. He can also carry about 50 kilograms in cargo, perishables, what have you. No shields, but it does again have this modular pod on the bottom, and several things can be fitted here because this was meant for several roles. Now, in A New Hope, this belongs to Luke. He has a real one in the garage, and for some reason he has a model of one in his room. Seems a little odd to have a model of something you actually own, but hey, whatever. And this is what he was supposed to have learned to fly on. And in fact, these were kind of looked down upon by some for being way too fast, way too maneuverable, way too dangerous. So what did Incom design this for? Well, it is a multi-role craft. And even though we see it on Tatooine, it's actually designed to work in most environments, most climates, and these are found on most worlds throughout the Star Wars galaxy. This is a very ubiquitous craft. Now, on the civilian side, it can be a personal transport, something like a sports car or a muscle car. It can also be a training craft. It's pretty obvious since it has room for 2. You can have an instructor and a student. And of course, just a luxury craft. These were also used often for racing, so it could be used for that. And they were also used for sports, shooting, and game hunting. That's where this kind of weapons pod comes into play, even on civilian. They could mount either a double laser cannon or 1 heavy laser. Alternatively, they could essentially have less lethal, a pneumatic cannon or a stun cannon. or really whatever else. Again, it's a modular package. You can bolt on whatever you want. And this meant that it also had use for law enforcement and government security agencies who would use it for a patrol craft. In fact, there was a special law enforcement version called the T-16. Crowd control, monitoring, maybe even search and rescue. Why not? It is fast enough. And that extends to militaries. Some kind of planetary defense forces that didn't have a lot of money would use these either for training, because they had the same basic control layout as other Incom craft, including the X-Wing, or maybe even light security. I mean, put a gun on it, it can serve in kind of a light ground assault or defense role. Why not? But of course, it's not a starfighter. But it was capable of getting up to 1,200 kilometers per hour, so that's about as fast as a TIE fighter. So in an atmosphere, its maneuverability, and also another factor, it was quite affordable. You know, our T-47 over here was designed initially, before the Rebels got a hold of it, as a cargo management airspeeder, and these cost about 18,000 credits new. And the T-16 was actually about 14 to 15,000 credits new. And they, because they were so ubiquitous, could be found on the used market for less than half that. Which explains how Luke was able to get one. Kind of makes it, it's a little weird, you know. He's a farm boy. They weren't, I guess, poor. They weren't dirt farm. Well, they were moisture farmers. But then you look at what, I mean, Luke got a second-hand T-16. What did his sister get? An entire Corellian Corvette with top-of-the-line defenses and shields. Seems a little unfair, if you ask me. But I digress. So yeah, and the Rebellion did use the T-16 to train. And actually these would continue on into the New Republic era. Not only would they be used for training in the New Republic fleet, they would be used for planetary security, diplomatic security, and police actions. They were just a good, versatile craft. And again, fast enough with a good altitude. It's a unique design. It's simplistic, but also very much Star Wars. It does kind of remind you of the Imperial shuttle, if you think about it. The Lambda shuttles with the wings and everything. And we saw this in the original film long before the shuttle came about. But I think that's kind of neat. And much like the sand or desert speeder here from the Titanium, which came out late, this is one of their later releases. It's a good size. Of course, it's pretty spindly. My only real complaint, I think it's neat. I wish the gun moved. Doesn't seem to. And also, it's very plastic. Some of these titanium are solid metal, but I've noticed the later ones towards the end of the run in 2009 get more and more plastic. The original ones were almost all metal, but now only the center section here is metal. The wings are plastic. The gun is plastic. So it's pretty light, even though it's a decent size in my hand. It's pretty light, but it's nice they did it, and these were relatively cheap. But if you look at this little guy, this is all metal. Even the cannon has these neat little air brakes, and the cockpit opens, and even has a landing gear that comes down. But our little T-16 doesn't really have any features, because by this point they were trying to make them less toys and more little collectible miniatures. So that's kind of good, I suppose. By the way, the pilot's field of view is supposedly pretty obscured by this kind of sail here, but it was made up for by kind of a glass cockpit and a bit of maybe virtual reality instrumentation. That's their excuse in the world. But let's not forget Mr. Dewback here. I mean, keep in mind, you know, Luke is zipping around the skies in an air-conditioned cockpit, shooting, what is it, womp rats or whatever he says he shoots. Having fun, being a reckless hooligan. Meanwhile, our poor government servant here is literally crawling the desert floor, riding a giant lizard. That just seems like hot, nasty work. He didn't even get like a parasol. So we gotta give him credit. Just a dude trying to do his job. Having to put up with those silly kids. And he only gets a little stunner here. Luke's got a big old cannon. That's not honest. This is a neat little model. I don't know why, it just amuses me. Has this little display plinth. And our... So, you know, this one's all metal. Our figure is plastic, but our Dewback himself is metal. So he's pretty heavy. You can probably hear it. Yeah, he's heavy. Anyway, I just had this. Figured I'd show it to you. I like Incom designs. They're neat. I'll probably do a Incom overview one day. Yeah, the T-16 Skyhopper. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.